Enterprise Management 360.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Chat. Now in today's episode, I'm being joined by Mike Kiersey, who is the Principal Technologist at Boomi. So welcome, Mike, and thank you for coming on today's Tech Chat.
Morning, Max. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to the show.
You're very welcome. Before we get into today's topic, would you mind giving our viewers a quick background on yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for the introduction. So, Mike, Principal Technologist in Boomi. I've been in Boomi for about 2 years, really responsible about our broader engagement with our clients across EMEA, really helping to shift how we look at what Boomi can do around integration, master data management, API management, and how that's pertinent to their industries that they work in.
Perfect. Man of many talents and much knowledge, so perfect. I've had a couple of conversations with people at Boomi now. I always enjoy what we kind of delve into, and today we're going to be discussing how master data management can ensure the success of M&As and what the future holds. And I wanted to kick off the show here, Mike, by asking you what are the main risks that organizations are facing if they don't have a seamless plan to unite architectures?
That's a good question. I think there's a couple of areas here. One is risk, right? How do they measure resiliency of the business and risk associated with silos of data, silos of applications, right? I would say the biggest ones would be, productivity and cost. Right, productivity. If I've got a single view of my employees or my partners or my customers or my products, right? How do I make decisions based on events and changes that might happen in terms of my engagements with those different personas, if I would call it that? And actually, without having a single view or a united architecture, how do I know which one's the most truthful? Right? You're guessing, you're second guessing. So your productivity of your teams start to go down because they're now spending more time managing and massaging data, which is obviously a cost, right? Versus actually doing the analysis of probably what they should be and how they're working against that. When I do speak with customers and even read in some of the journals, when you look at sort of data architects, analysts, spend most of their time actually merging data together and trying to get some common sense out of it because it's in different formats, in different systems, and they cannot get a heterogeneous view of that. And I think, when I look at that, it just drives frustration. It doesn't bring good customer experience if one person on one end of the phone talking to a customer doesn't necessarily know all the data and all the facts. And actually, it can help improve that customer experience if people are truly united. It could lower risk in terms of how they're engaging and what they're looking at. And actually also, where do they invest for the future?
Completely. And it's very key that you mentioned there, that frustration and how much that plays into that CX role, how it moves forward. So to follow on from that, organizations really need to be on the ball when it comes to this. So from your standpoint, what key steps do you believe that organizations need to take to avoid those risks and kind of have a seamless data policy, if such a term exists?
That's a good question. I think everyone talks about data policies, data privacy, and security, right? They all sort of come in together in a number of ways. And for me, it comes in a number of things. One is you need to establish the goal of what you want to do with data, right? And define some performance metrics around what that data should be doing for you as a business. The other bit is identify the key people responsible for looking after data and what that function needs to deliver against that, and identify the stewards and the stewardship policies that need to be applied to data, right? Ultimately, you don't want everyone making all the changes to the data, right? Because the quality become more suspect over time. And building almost like a racy table, right, of the business of who's responsible, who's wants to be consulted, who wants to be obviously the owner of that, and those who want to be informed. I think the other pieces there is actually have an inventory of the data, right? Do you actually have a data catalog of all your data that's needed? Do you have a content management policy and a record system that allows you to manage the content? Things like records management, right? Developing coherent policies that may talk about how you capture, how you create, how do you maintain, or how you retire or delete data. Then there's also the thing around the quality, right? Do you have the right staff with the right skills to make the right decisions around quality of data? And then also the auditability of data, right? Do you have a process in place to look at and ensuring quality? And then there's when you get a little bit further into the security aspects of is who has access to that data, how do you audit that, who gives authority around that, what systems you want to deliver that data. And then there's the broader aspect of security in terms of, how you protect it, where it's sitting, are the legal requirements, is the legislation around government, what do we think about GDPR, and how people access that data. And then also building the whole risk assessment that goes around managing data. So it's a data policy is all encompassing. I see it as many onion rings that spiral out associated with the data, but a common goal, having processes, the right people focused on that with the appropriate authority to make change. And then there's also the things around the quality of data. And more importantly, the architectures that underpin that to ensure that, okay, it's great that you've got a policy, but we're not enforcing it and we've still got silos of data. How are we going to clean that up? So in the event of capturing information at the front end, let's say through marketing, we say we're only going to keep it for 30 days, is ensuring that we are only going to keep it for 30 days, right? Mm-hmm. There's one thing about being legal, right? And we're not capturing something. And then there's the other aspects of being, is it right still to capture certain pieces of the data? And sometimes it's probably best not to capture some information, right? And be more squeaky clean. And it's easy in saying, well, I've got all of this, and it can spiral out of control, quite easily.
Yeah, and there's so many steps there that you mentioned, and different facets of an organization that need to be brought into all of this. One final question for you here, Mike. From your standpoint, what do you think the future does hold for M&As in a post-COVID kind of world, if such a thing will exist, and it's understanding how those businesses cope with that and what the kind of trends are going to be going forward?
Yeah, I would say, I've had lots of conversations around mergers and acquisitions, right, and divestitures. I don't think the slowdown is happening anytime soon, right? No. Nvidia bought Arm the other day for like 40 billion, right? That's a huge, big investment. And I follow some of the trends across certain industries. Unfortunately with COVID, some organizations are going, actually, we're in distress, right? We actually want to be purchased, or there's a great opportunity based on our IP. What I would say is for this is the future holds still good, right? I think organizations are still looking to acquire organizations for growth, new markets, new products, developing IP to another level, etc. is still going to be very prevalent. Some will obviously divest because their businesses have changed and a certain unit is they don't necessarily need on that. I think for companies today is actually linking to the conversation around data. You could be so much more valuable on your market if you just got your acts right around data. Yes. Right. So if you look at a merger and acquisition and someone, it might be data only, there's always a risk of actually, am I presenting the right data for the acquiring company? Right. Or am I giving too much? Right. Those type of things. Also in a merger is from an IT perspective, if they turn around and said for this merger, IT has X amount of budget, and they do the due diligence and get going through. And then actually when they come into, day one, they realize, oh my God, we've got all of this data and it's still wrong. Right. And our productivity means we're gonna waste another team's effort for another 6 months to go and get this done. So their return on that investment is diminished even faster because they've got more work that they unforeseen. I think for companies that are looking for, actually, we want to be acquired, actually do your homework, get your data ready, right, in preparation that people can come and look at how your business is structured and build tools, and maybe that's with Boomi, right, to how can we help integrate our business into yours with speed, right? And that potential is actually, that's lowering risk of someone buying and acquiring you because they've got better insight, is actually that improves the productivity and the synergies of the businesses as they come together. So instead of taking 6 months to get something done, could we actually integrate a company within 8 weeks?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, get your data ready. I think that's something everyone should take forward. Mike, yes. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you for coming on Tech Chat and walking us through all of this. It's been great talking to you.
Likewise, Max, thank you very much for the time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who tuned into this episode. We hope you took a lot away from it. If you want more information, you can follow the conversation on our socials, which is at EM360 on Twitter and LinkedIn. We'll be back next week with another episode in our Tech Chat series. Until then, for more great daily content, head on over to em360tech.com.
Now, just before you go, I wanted to let you know about an event coming up. The Cybersecurity for Critical Assets Summit is running virtually on the 6th and 7th of October. The CS4CA Summit brings together hundreds of IT and OT security leaders from across Europe's critical infrastructures for 2 days of in-depth knowledge exchange, strategy planning, and insight building. Make sure you register now at europe.cs4ca.com.